Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Hey, Fidelity. How can I remember to invest every month?
With the Fidelity app, you can choose a schedule and set up recurring investments in stocks and ETFs.
Oh, that sounds easier than I thought.
You got this.
Yeah, I do. Now, where did I put my keys?
You will find them where you left them.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
Savage.
We have to fund our police. We've gotten, for crying out loud, they actually had people who are defunding the police. You go to Oregon right now, I went and it's...
Real talk. No filter on Savaged Unfiltered. Savaged.
All right, so, seriously, this is this is actually definitely the least prepared I've been for an interview, but that was on purpose because you told me not to send you an agenda because you're a goddamn professional comedian and your brain processes faster than me. Anyway, hey, listen, everybody, welcome to today's guest interview. We've got a great one today, and I'm excited because this is actually going to kind of make my game a little bit better. But we've got Michael Gardner. Among other things, he's the host of another awesome podcast, actually, called Savage Unfiltered Show. And so this is just funny, and then I'm going to have Michael jump in. But, normally I try to be prepared, so I send most of my guests what I call an agenda/roadmap. And more than anything, it's kind of based on my research of them, and it's really to keep me on track versus them, because obviously they know what they want to talk about. And so when I told that to Michael, he's like, I'm good, dude. I'm a professional comedian. I've had a podcast for 6 years and I don't need that because I want to be more authentic. So that's where we are, bro. This is like free flowing. Hey man, welcome to the Deep Shallow Dive.
Yeah, appreciate it, Ray. Thanks for having me. And, you said it all, guys. I am a professional podcaster. I'm also a professional entertainer. I dabble in the Hollywood scene as well, too, as an extra and B-roll actor. So, man, I appreciate the intro, and let's get this party started. Yeah, right?
I'll tell you where I want to start off is I want to start off talking about comedians because it's so interesting to me that over the past several years, and I think a lot of it has to do with Joe Rogan and the success he's had in podcasting, coupled with maybe somebody like Dave Chappelle and obviously the success he's had. But, comedians are incredibly in tune and insightful, and it's becoming apparent with politics and with kind of geopolitics and what's going on. What is it about that? Is it just the improv background maybe many of you guys have, or I don't know, man, it just seems like your brains process faster?
Well, Ray, it's like, here's how I look at it. It's basically, to kind of answer what you're saying, I think it has to do with, who you know and how you know them, to branch out in the industry. Because you ever heard the expression, like, things happen to the right set of people? Well, I firmly believe that. But I also believe that if you're in the right area in the industry at the right time, that's when your trajectory just climbs high levels. Because if you have to know. Because like when you're there, when it's going to happen to you. Because when it does happen, just keep on climbing up. Because if you don't, well, you're gonna tumble down the ladder, and you're gonna be down by the foundation. So it's who you know and how you know in order to build just what you want. out of the industry. Yeah, absolutely.
Is that comic space kind of like a fraternity and a family? I mean, do you guys, there's no way you guys all know each other, but I mean, do you help each other?
Yeah, it can be. It just depends on the set of people. Like I like to surround myself with positive people, healthy people in that aspect, because there's a lot of people even in our industry of talk radio podcasting that are very negative. They're all about themselves. They want to make money, and I get it. Like we're in it to also make money, but we're also in it to fulfill a passion or a hobby behind it. So it's like you want to stay on the top, and you want to compete against the competition, but you also want to have that friendly base with other people, and I find that difficult sometimes, because when I get friendly with people, it's like you start to learn the true character behind the persona of people. You know what I mean? So it can be a little difficult.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the guys. I mean, who's considered the best? Who's considered like A level in the space of the comedian world? I got to imagine Chappelle's kind of the guy, right?
Well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Chappelle, to be honest with you. I think he gets a little sloppy with his line of work. He tends to rip off other comics from the past. I mean, you can look at the greats like George Carlin. You can look at older work from Jim Carrey, Adam Sandler. Those guys were original, in my opinion. Original. Like, no one can match their skill. No one can match their talent. And then when you get people that come in later in life, like Chappelle and then other people, Kevin Hart, it's like they're funny, but you're looking at older comics in their persona. They're not original. I like originality, right? I don't like people that copy off of other personas in that aspect. So which
one of the older guys? So you mentioned, I mean, I think George Carlin was absolutely brilliant. And the crazy thing is his take on geopolitics and politics in general probably wasn't even understood well enough back then, but you see all those clips now and they're completely relevant. His clips from decades ago are playing out now. That's incredible.
No one can match his punchline, Ray. I mean, he delivered the punchline very, very well. So I gotta give him that.
He absolutely did. What about, like, is Richard Pryor considered one of the GOATs? Like, if there was a Mount Rushmore of comics, who's on it?
Who's on it? Oh, God. I would say George Carlin. I would also say Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey. I'm also going to put Joan Rivers on the top there, as well as the last one. I would go. It's hard to pick that number 5. I'm going to want to go with Jackie Gleason. Those are my
Jackie Gleason. Okay. I'll tell you another guy that I thought was incredibly sharp and witty was Norm Macdonald. Remember Norm Macdonald?
He was funny, yeah. That's why I was saying it's hard to, fill number 5, because I want to go between him and Jackie Gleason, because all 5 of them. I mean, if you want to say 6, all 6 of them were great. And
no, they absolutely were. I mean, and Jim Carrey was, totally another level. Interesting with that guy. I think when he was like with Jenny McCarthy and they got into the, she was a big proponent on vaccination with kids, and I know they launched like a nonprofit called, I think it was called Generation Rescue or something. They really got into that stuff. But I feel like that was like the beginning of the end for him, not only with the media, but I think it took a toll on him personally, because again, it seems like he kind of came out of the limelight then. But man, that guy, incredibly talented. So talk to us about like when you're crafting your your bits, and when you're crafting your routine, what is that process? Are you like sitting in a room, or like,
well,
how does it
here's
even
a little
work?
thing about me, right? Like a lot of us are similar in some aspect, but you have to watch that because it goes back to the originality of what I was saying earlier in the program here. Like, you don't want to copy too much because it's going to show you as a poser. It's not going to show you as an original persona through the craft of podcasting, now modern talk radio. So how I come up with things is this brain. It never stops. A lot of us are similar in a lot of ways. I mean, you could look at older talk radio guys like Howard Stern and, Mike and Mike on the radio, right? Those guys are very similar in a lot of ways. Like, the ideas usually come to us with constantly thinking, trying to evolve in the industry. Like, you have to say, okay, that show was great. The content was great. The material was great. Okay. But how can I make it 10 times better? Because your next show is just as great as your last show. I don't know if you ever heard that expression, but it's actually absolutely true. Your next show should be 10 times better than your previous show. Because if you're obtaining audience in your shows, in your episodes, great. Everybody wants that climb. But you also want to obtain more audience with more content added in, if that makes sense. So never go by the same form. Always change things up because you want to keep people fresh. You want to keep people thinking, oh, like, shit, what's he going to say next? So like, that's how you want to keep it going. I'm constantly evolving. I'm constantly thinking of ideas. That's how my persona, my content of my show continues through Savage Unfiltered. So,
have you done a lot of stand-up or improv?
What's that?
Have you done a lot of stand-up or improv, like stand-up routines at comedy clubs and all that?
I have. Earlier in my career of entertainment, I dabbled in the entertainment industry as a comedian. I still classify myself as an entertainer or comedian with my line of work, including my show. I'm very heavily presented on Twitter X, with the spaces. So there is some, personas and old characters that I bring in those spaces sometimes that I used to do on my live stand-up career back in the day, through college and, going into my 30s. I'm in my 40s right now, but it's hard because comedy is still alive, but podcasting, man, is on another level. So, like, how I bring my comedy in is through my shows, and then I'm starting it, to get back into live shows. And I'll make an announcement later in your program with that. But that comedy is, I didn't put it on the side, Ray, but I'm making it more presented through my episodes, podcast.
All right,
episodes.
gotcha. See, these are all things that I would have fleshed out had I sent you that roadmap and agenda, but we're fleshing it out in real time.
Question, man, far away.
I love it. All right, so you know what? I think it'll actually be interesting to talk people through how you do your show. Because obviously they've listened to my show quite a bit, but talk us through kind of how you do your show. Tell everybody, like, here's what because listen, you've got a whole operation there. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. Give us a scoop on that.
Well, the operation we do here is through Truth Productions Media. That's the name of my production company here in Tampa Bay, Florida. I'm partnered with a really, really awesome friend, brother that I consider more than a friend, Daniel Richardson. We call him Shaky. That's his nickname. And we co-partner and co-own this studio here in Tampa Bay. The way we do things here is a little different from most podcast shows and production companies. I don't like scripted stuff. I'm not a big fan of scripted shit. I think it's not original. It's not showing who you are behind this microphone. Anyone can read off of a teleprompter or script. I mean, I can literally, when I'm talking to you, I could be looking like this or I can be looking like that, two different teleprompters or a main, panel in front of me, and I could say, "Hi, Ray. My name is Michael Gardner." It doesn't sound original. It doesn't sound fresh. It sounds like I'm a robot. So when I tell people, what I like and what I'm expecting from them, even as guests, when we do like emails and stuff like that, we tell them, be yourself. If you want to attack me on something, attack me on something. I'm not going to get triggered. I'm very professional. I'm going to handle it, accurately, and I'm going to go to a level of a persona with me as a host. But I want you to be yourself. I want you to ask questions. I want you to be, comfortable. Don't feel like you have to come on my show and be timid and scripted and everything else. Right? I'm not a big fan of scripted stuff. I'm very uncut. I'm very unfiltered. I'm very uncensored. I think I fit a very, very raw forum of podcasting, and there's very, low amounts of us still around that are doing that. Yeah.
Well, what are the kind of key categories or topics you talk about?
We talk about everything. I'm not a one-man topic show. Sometimes you'll hear me talking a lot about politics. I have a huge passion behind it, as I am a registered Florida delegate here in the state of Florida. So I like talking about politics, but I also like to mix things up. I like having authors on my show, comedians, actors. I've had politicians on my show, congressional members. I've had former Secret Service agents, former CIA agents. I've just about everybody. So I like to kind of mix things up and kind of change everything. Because I don't like, I'm going to be talking about politics tomorrow. I'm going to be talking about politics the next day. No. Because when you hear Savage Unfiltered, you can hear politics on a Tuesday, and then that Thursday, I could be speaking about somebody's book or somebody's comedy work. So I like to kind of keep my audience, in check of, what they're going to hear next. Because that's what it's all about. Yeah.
So wait, you're a registered delegate in Florida. I'm so glad you said that, because I think it'll be interesting. What the hell does that even mean? Like what does these delegates even mean? And really, if you think about it, so, Biden steps aside, all these delegates within 24 hours have now converted to Kamala. Don't the delegates represent the people? And I find it incredibly difficult to think all the people came to a consensus in 4 hours to be able to just give the delegates.
Well, so a lot of what you're seeing, right? A lot of what you're seeing on media, obviously it's fabricated. A lot of fabrication goes into what you see, man. So what these delegates are supposed to do, man, is they're supposed to represent their districts with a local or a state level. And then what they do is how they get the delegates. So what a delegate is what I just basically presented. A delegate is a individual that represents not only their state, but they also represent their district. Okay, and they can represent either side. You can have Republican delegates, you can have independent delegates, and you can also have Democratic delegates, right? So the way they say, they have so many delegates and this and that, that is the amount of delegates that they're polling. They're polling only per party. So if you have, say, for example, Donald Trump has, hundreds of millions of delegates. They're pulling all those delegates from different states that represent the party, and then they go vice versa. So I think your question was what with Kamala Harris? How did she poll all those delegates? Is that what you're saying?
If you're a delegate, do you have a certain constituency that you're supposed to represent their vote? You're a delegate in Florida. Do you have 3,000 people in your delegation, and then you've talked to them and said, okay, who are we support? Who do we want to cast our vote for? I know you're a Republican, so your Republican vote is, yes, we want to cast our vote for Donald Trump. Is that how it works?
It depends on the actual individual, so who they're going to vote for is obviously their own personal decision. if that makes sense. I mean, right? I mean, more or less. I mean,
no, that makes sense. I'm saying, what does a delegate do? Like you said, you're a delegate. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, well, a delegate basically represents their party. They represent message, they represent policy, and they're basically a person that would attend meetings, like hearings, whether it's on a local or state level. I sometimes attend both. Well, not as much now because of, my busy schedule and I'm getting into with podcasting and, through the entertainment business. So now, when they see me at these hearings, they're like, "Damn, man, we haven't seen you in 3 months. Are you doing all right?" I mean, I'm not a an average delegate.
I hear
that
you.
attends these things.
I guess my question was, I'm trying to understand the Kamala situation right now where Biden resigns. He had all the delegates, like 3,000 something. And now within 24 hours, it seemed that Kamala got, 1,846 delegates to approve her. Therefore, she already has enough delegates to gain the nomination. I'm trying to dumb that down for people to see what the hell that even means. I think what they're trying to do is
they're trying to obviously they're saying that she obtained all the same delegates that Joe Biden had, which is, I mean, that's normal. If you're going through a transition phase between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. So Kamala Harris as the new sitting nominee, which I believe she's going to be. There's a lot of rumors circulating that, Hillary Clinton might take the helm or possibly Michelle Obama. They're rumors, guys. They're not, folks, these are not a standard statement by the Democratic Party. They're only rumors. So I do believe that they're going to go with Kamala Harris, right? Because obviously she's the vice president, and under certain circumstances of what we're hearing from Joe Biden, that he possibly is sick, and I've heard from Alex Jones, conspiracy theory that he might possibly be dead. I mean, I hope not. But if that's the case, Kamala Harris would be sworn in as president from now till November, and then she still has that right to run against Donald Trump in November. But delegates, I believe that she was able to obtain all the delegates because him resigning as president. Absolutely, yeah.
All right. I gotcha. Let's talk a little bit. Since have you been in Florida for a while? Were you there throughout COVID?
Yeah. Well, half of that actually. I was actually living in New York City from 2018 through 2020, and then I basically came back to Florida. I initially moved to Florida, the state of Florida, back in 2012, and then I left to go back up north for 3.5, 4 years, to do other business and stuff like that. But half and half, I lived in Florida.
I was just, because I live in California, so I was just trying to understand, what was Florida really is open and maybe dramatically different from California than what I saw? Because it did seem, and I will say this, I mean, that was when I really was like, hey, I like the moves DeSantis is making in terms of how he ran Florida for COVID. I think when he then ran for president or for the Republican nomination, man, that's when the wheels came off the bus. I thought he just put together the worst campaign I've ever seen, surrounded by I don't know who was advising him, but man, he sucked. He absolutely sucked. And he looked like a scared child on the debate when he was with the collective guys. I thought he did great when he debated Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, if I may chime in real quick with DeSantis, DeSantis basically, the mistake he made was that he was trying to, become like a Trump 2.0. Okay, so when he was running for president last year, going into earlier this year, what ruined him in the primary first? I want to talk about the primary, and then I'll talk about what his mistakes. What ruined him in the primary was he was trying to run on that same message as Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. Right? He was trying to do that whole MAGA stuff. And, MAGA only works for one person, and it works for Donald Trump. No, guys, I'm not a Trump cultist, but the way I'm saying that is because Trump, with the exception of Ronald Reagan, those are the two people that the entire MAGA movement worked for. It doesn't work for people like Ron DeSantis, is because people seen right through him. He's a great governor, don't get me wrong. And that's what he should have stuck with, being a governor. The presidential material is another fathom in its own necessity. Being a governor and being president, two different ball games. So, and then also, running on that MAGA stuff, like people are like, Ron, what the hell are you doing, man?
Yeah, no,
you're trying to compete
agree
against the guy that basically inherited it from Ronald Reagan in the 80s. And that's Donald Trump. Like, you can't run on that. So that's what destroyed him in the primary, and people seen it, right? They see it.
No, totally.
Yeah.
No, totally. He was trying to be like Trump light, and it just absolutely didn't work. All right, let's jump into this entertainment stuff that you do where you're an extra, or you're basically in all these things. You're actually kind of, that's part of your profession. What is that stuff like? Like, what is it like being an extra or whatever else in these movies? And maybe give us some of the bigger ones you've been in.
Well, I could tell you the extra stuff, Ray, is I feel that it's easier than the B-roll acting. And I'll get into what B-roll acting is, but I just prefer extra work. It's quick, it's easy. Sometimes you can make a few $100s to sometimes a few $1,000s, depending on the production you're working with, as well as the role that you're being required. Because everybody thinks it's like, oh, an extra, it's easy work, right? It is. Don't get me wrong. Like they put you in these scenes as basically as a live dummy, more or less. Like sometimes you're walking down the street, or you're sitting at a cafe, a coffee shop, and you're just, they ask you, okay, well, we need you here at this coffee shop. Sit down, but move your mouth as if you were having a regular live conversation with somebody, but don't speak. So if that is extremely hard, because as regular actors, right? They can do it, right? But as an extra, people seem to, like, when they get into the line of work in the entertainment industry, as an extra, it's hard for them. Like, I can have a conversation with you and I can be doing this, and that's easy for me, because, like, what I just said was, hey, Ray, thank you for having me on your show. And you wouldn't even know what I just said because I was muting myself, like, on purpose.
Yeah.
And you get trained to do that, because when the camera shows you speaking like that, the intention is that, in reality, if you were 450 feet away, you wouldn't hear the conversation even in real reality. So that's what they're trying to present. So more or less, it's like choreographed like that. There's other things too that I enjoy doing, but the B-roll acting, I do that from time to time. But a B-roll actor is basically people that are like third in the line of production. You would have your A-list acting, which is your main characters, right? They're in the majority of the film. Anything over 80% is considered A-list or main role acting. Your B-roll would go from 30 to 40%. So maybe you're introduced right away, or you're not introduced to, like, maybe mid-roll of the movie, which is, usually right around like 30, 35 minutes. So that's B-roll acting. I enjoy doing that from time to time, but it's a big headache, because sometimes you have to memorize a script, and I'm not gonna lie, that's my weak points, because going back to earlier in the program here, the episode, I'm not a scripted guy. So, reading off of a script, I take a script like this, it's just a sheet of paper, guys. I could be like going through this and, oh shit, that's like 30 pages. So to memorize 30 pages, it's hard. So that's why I prefer extra acting. Yeah.
I got you. Okay. So, like, how do you even get extra acting? Like, do you have a extra acting agent, or are there websites that you just stay on top of and they publicize it there?
Yeah. Well, I'm aligned with All Casting. I don't know if some of your listeners have heard of that agency, but it's a very large agency in the Hollywood industry. And with All Casting, what I love about All Casting is not only do they specialize in the extra work and regular acting, but they also specialize in other industries like voiceover work, live comedy, such and such like that. So it's really enjoyable, to work for a company, an establishing company like All Casting. So I encourage some people, Ray, to jump over to allcasting.com and sign up for a membership. Yes, there is a membership with that. So what that entitles is there's like 3 different types of membership. There's a basic, standard, and professional. I encourage doing the professional because you're going to get a lot more gigs emailed to you.
Got it. Do they cover your are these gigs that are local to you, or do you travel for this? And then do they cover travel?
It depends on the production that you're working with. Usually a lot of high-end production companies like Lionsgate, Happy Madison Productions, Netflix Films, Universal, they will cover the expense and the accommodations, flight, hotel, and all that, but it depends on the actual, executive directors, producers, and stuff like that. So I can't give you like a straight answer. It just depends. It all depends.
Got it. Okay. All right. So what else, man? In the comedy space, what do you have coming up? I'd love to kind of have you give the audience where you're going to be so they can catch you.
Yeah, sure. So, again, going back to what I said earlier in the conversation, my comedy, I'm mixing up more with my live podcasting shows. A lot of us are doing that in the industry. So if you guys can catch me this November, I'm actually going to be in the Pittsburgh area, Tarrytown. That's how you pronounce it, I believe. Tarrytown, Pennsylvania, which is right on the outskirts of downtown Pittsburgh. PodDutyLive.com has a live podcast stage theater. A gentleman by the name of Jeff Davila basically had a vision going back a couple of years ago and wanted to bring in a lot of local podcasters, comedians, talk radio guys on stage. And it was a success. So I found him through a friend in the industry, a local comedian. Well, I wouldn't say local. He's out of St. Louis. But a gentleman by the name of Bob Lament, from Static Radio, which happens to be the longest running podcast on the internet today. If you guys check that show out, highly encourage you. So Bob basically told me, hey, Michael, check this guy out, Jeff Davila. Has an awesome thing going on up in the Pittsburgh area, and you should try to see if you could book, something up there. So I took his advice. I actually called up Jeff and told him who I was, what I'm about, and no hesitation, Ray. It only took maybe a couple days, man. He reached back out to me because I left a message actually, and then I emailed him. And he's like, man, I like your work. I'm looking at your production. Very professional. Got a really good team, it seems. And I'd like to schedule something with you. So, November 10th, 7 p.m., guys. Check me out at Pod Duty. If you'd like, I can give you the information, right?
Yeah, I'll put the information in the show
November
notes.
10th, 7 p.m., guys, yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, tell everybody where you want them to find you outside of that.
Yeah. Guys, really easy
in terms of just plug your show, man.
My website,
plug away.
Yeah. So a lot of people, I like to direct them to my website, but right now it's in construction mode because we're putting in some new features. So the best way, and depending on how you listen to the episode now, through, Deep Shallow Dive podcast, that website will be back up and running soon. But just Google search me, guys. Just Google search Savage Unfiltered Show. We're listed on like about 40 platforms, audio platforms, constantly growing with that. We do, some snippets, clips through TikTok. Search me on that, Savage Unfiltered. We're on Twitter, X, Facebook. My main presence, I can tell you, though, is through Spotify, TikTok, and Twitter. That's what seems to kind of grow the show. So, and check out our merch. We got some merch, savagearmy.com. A lot of political and, humorous sayings on that. Constantly throwing out promotions. So check on the top of the page. There's some promotions. Also wrote a couple books. We got a book out, America's Political Warfare, Our Modern Civil War, which is available on Amazon in 2 formats, softcover, ebook, Kindle. If you got the Kindle format, guys, it's free. If you have the membership, you don't pay a dime for the ebook. That's if you have the membership. We also have another book that just got released a couple weeks ago, Through a Savaged America. That's available in softcover and ebook. The ebook will actually drop in 2 days, July 25th. So, depending on how you listen to the episode, it's already released then, probably most likely. And then we have another book that's coming out. Yeah, I'm an author myself, guys, constantly staying busy. I got another book coming out, a comical book. Cousin Saul, Adventures of an Old Jewish Man from Queens. So I think you guys would like that one. That's more comical. Yeah, my first 2 books were more political, because I share that passion behind politics. But yeah, there's some comical books coming out. That's going to come out in August. And then in October, my another book is going to show just who the hell I am behind this microphone. We're going to be calling that book Shotcaster, because I don't consider myself a podcaster, right? I consider myself a shotcaster, because I'm willing to air stuff on my show, other shows, spaces on Twitter, and I'm not afraid to do it. And a lot of people are. A lot of people are timid on what they say behind the microphone. I'm not. And I'm going to say this to your audience, and I'm going to say this to people who ever listen to this episode. If I offend you, I'm not sorry. If I got you triggered, I'm not sorry. Because guess what? You don't have to choose to listen to me. You could choose to listen to anybody. But if you do choose to listen to me, you're going to get straight up, no cookie cutter bullshit. You're going to get straight persona and zero fabrication, because I'm not a fan of that. So check that book out.
You're going to get Savage Unfiltered is what you're going to get. All right, brother. Right, listen, yeah. I love the name. Seriously, I really do. I love the name. Besides Deep Shallow Dive, it's the greatest name in podcasting. Anyway, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Stay on the line. I'm sure we'll have many other conversations in the future, but thanks for coming on today, shedding light on, the comedy structure, the extra world, and really kind of your journey, and wish you the best, brother.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right.
This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. Underwear drawers are like the Wild West of wardrobes. You never know what pair you're going to pull out or what shape it's in. So upgrade your underwear drawer with the buttery soft comfort of MeUndies. MeUndies' signature fabric is as soft and comfy as your favorite sweater. Plus, it's breathable, making it ideal for all-day wear. Get 20% off your first order, plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/Spotify. Enter promo code Spotify. That's MeUndies.com/Spotify, code Spotify.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du Norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.